my name is Natalia. Today I'm talking to Miss Libby Schaaf, who is the mayor of Oakland in California. And Oakland is known as one of the cities that follows sustainable development goals and is devoted to implementing Agenda 2030 in their communities. And it is great, especially that in times of pandemic, the work is not stopping. We have such initiatives as Flow Street program, um, which is a fantastic opportunity, and it was launched in April 2020 as a part of the city's COVID-19 response. It was intended to support safe physical activity and alleviate overcrowding. Could you tell us about the significance of this program and how it helps limit transmission? Is this, in your opinion, an example of how cities and its policies are fundamental in battling COVID-19?
Absolutely. And I think it's important that while we are suffering from this health tragedy, we do look for the silver linings, the opportunities to try new things and to test them rapidly. Because our lives are so disrupted from this virus already, it was a perfect time to try something that we had been thinking about before COVID hit, and that is democratizing our streets. Streets in cities were planned for cars, but we want so many other uses on them to make a more healthy and sustainable city. So when COVID hit, we saw that our parks were beginning to get overcrowded. And we knew that for health reasons, we needed to let people spread out, be farther apart from one another, while they were still doing the very important job of exercising and being outdoors to take care of their mental health during this health crisis. So Slow Streets was a brilliant move from my director of the Department of Transportation. Thank you, beautiful bureaucrats that are innovative and creative. He took the data that we already had from doing our bike plan. We already knew which streets had the slowest traffic flows and the least amount of volume. And so we were able to immediately identify 74 miles of roads in our city. That's like 10% of all the roads, and immediately designate them as candidates for slow streets. We immediately deployed. They were not beautiful, but it was very rapid. This is how we can test things out. Just good old barriers and signs that said closed to through traffic. We then created some branding for slow streets, and very important, we created a text option so that people could tell us how they felt about that street being a slow street. And government often does not establish a conversation with its citizens. This is very important. And what we saw was that in some neighborhoods, people loved their slow streets. It gave them a safe, convenient place to exercise in a healthy, socially distanced way. But in some other neighborhoods, they didn't like the slow streets, and they felt that there was a much higher priority of being able to walk safely to their local grocery store or their local health provider, where that was particularly important during this virus. And so we pivoted in those neighborhoods and created something called essential places, where we did a different kind of traffic intervention to make pedestrian crossing in busy streets a lot safer. So those are the lessons we learned. You know, take advantage of disasters to try big things. Know that your streets are incredible assets and that they should be used for more than cars. They should be used for health, for people, to build community. And then engage in that conversation with your citizens, because you might find that one size does not fit all, and people feel so appreciative when their government not just asks them for their opinion, but then acts on it. And that's what we learned. And I'm telling you, many people say, hey, even when this virus goes away, I want to keep my slow street. I love this. I want this to be permanent. And so now we're using local artists. We have some street barriers that are mini community gardens. People are actually growing produce in their street barriers. I mean, it is so fun. It's been one of the
Yes.
happiest things from this pandemic.
Right. So I think you said that in the beginning it wasn't beautiful, but I think that the whole initiative, the beauty is hidden in the initiative and the fact that it aims to serve the community, to engage with the community. This is precisely what I understand as the essence of UN SDG 11. So my next question concerns this particular SDG. Um, the 11th Sustainable Development Goal as a part of the UN Agenda 2030, sustainable cities and communities, is one that draws many other targets and goals together. Oakland has consistently ranked in the top 10 US sustainable cities. Could you share some of the projects and policies aimed at sustainable city development in Oakland?
Sure. And I just want to say it has been the honor of my lifetime to actually be in Paris for the Paris Climate Accords, to actually be in Quito, Ecuador for Habitat 3 when the SDGs were formally adopted by every nation. So to see our power as a global community. And even in the United States, when our terrible president, who just got thrown out of office, I'm so relieved, when he pulled America out of the climate accords, the cities of America banded together and said, we will make good on America's promise to the rest of the world. So I just want to emphasize how our global exchange of ideas is so important. We have to continue that. In Oakland, we combine our sustainability and climate change goals with our deep belief in equity. We know that people who are poor, people of color, are going to suffer the effects of climate change first and worst. And so that is always central to our sustainability and climate change work. And I'll give you an example. We are focusing a lot on an urban forestry plan. We are going to be planting hundreds, thousands of trees in parts of our community that suffer from pollution and that have much higher heat than other parts of the city. We also are focusing on parts of our city, because we are a coastal city, that will be hit first with sea level rise. And we are prioritizing our low-income communities for the adaptation, the building up, the creating of bioswales, to make sure that we are protecting them first. And then finally, we're really looking at how we can change emissions from transportation as well as buildings. We're putting a huge investment into charging stations for electric vehicles. And I'm very proud that California has pledged to eliminate all gas-powered vehicles by the year 2035. And we fully support that. But then we have to invest in the infrastructure to make electric vehicles practical. And then with regard to buildings, we are about to ban natural gas in any newly constructed buildings. There's some resistance to that, but we're doing it anyway, because this is what we need to do to save the planet today for tomorrow.
Yes, precisely. I'm truly surprised by the initiative, by your response to the challenges of the community, and the fact that you put also your thoughts. You understand that those that are at the bottom of the society need our help the most. And this is something that I truly hope all of the communities and all of the government officials will take into account when planning their policies. And speaking of policies, I do understand that apart from the benefits and the initiatives that we have. We also must face the possibilities of risk and also of the disadvantages that our initiatives may inflict. So my question is, what are the main challenges when it comes to implementing sustainable development goals in cities? Lack of funds, lack of cooperation between the local and central government, or maybe something else? What are some steps to overcome these difficulties?
All of the above. You've identified several challenges. They are all
Yeah,
true. And right now, funding is particularly difficult because COVID-19 has caused an economic shutdown, particularly in our state. California was the first state to issue a
mhm,
shelter in place order. People are working from home. Many businesses are completely shut down. It is very hard on our economy right now. And so in a time of crisis, to put funding towards something that feels like it's in the distant future is very difficult. But that's why it's important to have political leaders who are willing to take the criticism for these funding decisions and stand by them. And I do that every day. I do not apologize for investing in our future, even during a difficult financial time. And, change is hard. And I'll give you an example that I'm working with right now. I also am excited when we don't do these policies city by city by city, but we start looking at more regional approaches. This sense that we are all in this together is so important, because the pollution, if I stop all pollution in my city, but my next door neighbor is still polluting, my residents
yeah.
breathe that pollution. So we have to be in this together. I sit on our regional transportation authority that is also responsible for making long-term plans for the whole Bay Area region. Um, this is San Francisco, Silicon Valley, a big important region in the United States. And we recently proposed to meet California's very aggressive emissions reductions goals. We proposed to require employers to mandate that 60% of office worker time was done through telecommuting from home, because we've seen that a tremendous source of pollution is the pollution that happens when workers are commuting between home and work. Well, I got to tell you, people flipped out. The business community flipped out. Downtown associations that depend on all those workers to, drop off their dry cleaning or buy a sandwich at the local cafe. Everybody flipped out. I hope that word translates. They were very upset. So we've had to go back to them. And instead of having this telecommuting mandate, we're creating a series of options that give employers flexibility for how they meet the commute reduction goal. And that's just an example of how people don't like change. They are very threatened by big change. But I believe that this pandemic has given us an opportunity to try radical things. We are so disrupted right now anyway, that now is the time to actually advance, particularly climate change goals. So those are some of the challenges, but I think we need to stay strong and work through them. The funding, the advocacy, the political will, that's what it's going to take. And I've got to say, young people have been such a powerful voice of advocacy for these changes. You all are making a huge difference. Do not stop. You are making the difference.
Thank you. I do believe that these words will resonate with so many of Poles and youth all over the world. I truly also believe that your words will inspire them to keep on fighting for a better future for our parents, ourselves, and our kids, and possibly grandchildren as well. So my last question today is: how would you differentiate between smart cities and sustainable cities? Because I feel that we have some difference between these two notions. Are we closer to one or the other?
I think they are different. And honestly, I think we need both. I don't want to choose between one or the other. To me, smart cities are using technology. They're looking at data and using data to make decisions and to plan for the future. To me, a sustainable city is one that knows we can no longer rely on non-renewable energy. But sustainability is not just about energy or pollution. An important part for me of sustainability is social cohesion, having a community that feels that they are responsible for one another, having a community that feels like their voice is heard by their government, by the decision makers, having a community that feels that the color of your skin, your national origin, your sexual orientation or gender identity, uh, your religion, none of these things should ever be an impediment to your success. People need to feel heard, seen, and empowered. And we know that we have a lot of work to do to get to a society that is equitable, that is fair, and is making decisions based on the sustainability of our planet for years and generations to come. So I think we need both to be smart and to be sustainable. Smart government policies are going to help us make the best decisions to achieve that sustainability. But I don't ever want to lose sight that sustainability is not just about GHGs or pollution or, particulate matter in the air. It is also about how we as human beings connect with one another and feel that society is fair and good and thinking about the future.
I have nothing to add. I truly resonate with these words, and I understand that being a government official, so being a politician also, inflicts lots of responsibilities. But I hope that once we have all people all over the world to think as you do, we are going to be a sustainable world. And I also hope that this pandemic will soon be over because I truly want to visit Oakland now more than ever. Right. So this is from me. All that I prepared for you today. Once again, I thank you very much for taking this opportunity, and also for giving me the honor to be speaking to you today.